different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here with you on the first Monday of 2021. Everybody, we did it. A collective sigh of relief. 2020 is in the past. Dead and gone. A part of history. Now we move forward with a new year and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll knock on wood because you can't be too safe. We have surpassed, hopefully, the worst year we will all ever live through and witness and be a part of. But we made it. New year on the calendar, new year in the NFL. The playoffs are here. 17 weeks are in the books. Regular season came and gone. And now we sit here 12 teams, or I should say, 14. Don't forget those 2 extra playoff games, playoff teams I just did. 14 teams remain as we battle now to see who will be in the Super Bowl and who will be raising that Lombardi trophy. So a very excited playoff-driven show here for the next 2 hours until 11 a.m. Eastern. As a reminder, we're coming to you live from the Big Italy Pizzeria studios with its great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, or online anywhere at BigItalyPizza.com. Love to get you involved in the fun. That's always part of it. I love the give and take. Love always hearing your thoughts. I could sit here and talk to myself for 2 hours, but to be honest, that's pretty boring. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and get your interaction. You can do that plenty of different ways. You can tweet us at WWSRN_radio. Tweet me directly at Ryan Hickey Show. You can watch on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. You can comment on the live stream below. Twitch, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And our app. You can get everything in one location. WWSR on iOS, Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Android. Everything. Articles, shows, YouTube clips. It all is right there. Touch of a button. WWSRN for the app on an iPhone. Worldwide Sports Radio Network if you have an Android. So like I said, a very playoff-centric show today on the first show of 2021. Playoff field is set, like I said. 14 teams. How many can't win a playoff game? I have 2. I'll tell you who those are in about 15 minutes or so. 9:40. 2 teams, one in the AFC, one in the NFC, really are both hitting their stride at the same time. And these are 2 teams that if I'm a 1 through 4 seed right now, right, playing on Wild Card Weekend and hosting a game, neither of these teams, if I'm in the AFC or the NFC, want to face them. I'll tell you who those 2 teams, 2 of the hottest teams in the NFL who I don't want to see coming into your house. I'll tell you what that is at 9:40. Top of the second hour. Like I said, the regular season is in the books, right? 17 weeks come and gone. I want to revisit my preseason predictions, but in doing so, discuss the biggest surprise in a positive way in the NFL, but also the biggest disappointment. Which team do we had the most excitement for, the most hype for, that really fell on their face? Give you a hint. Both the surprise in a positive way and a disappointment are both in the NFC. We'll do that at 10 Eastern. And of course, it's not just an NFL-driven show here. It's a college football also centric show, because guess what? They had their own playoff on Friday. New Year's Day, Ohio State shocks Clemson. Alabama takes care of Notre Dame. Why that loss? Strictly on Dabo Swinney's shoulders. And Notre Dame, hey, they showed they belong. And, of course, a little coaching carousel as well. We'll keep you updated. Adam Gase, the first head coach, fired at least after the game. Yesterday, the Jets relieved him of his duties. We'll keep you updated. If anything else comes down the pike this morning, as we know, usually the Monday after the after the last regular season game is always called Black Monday. So a lot of coaches do end up getting their pink slips. So we'll keep you updated if any breaking news happens. We'll also get into a coaching carousel. 2 decisions made in college football that I both agree with. We'll do that to end the show at 10:40. But we got to start with a game that, I'll be honest, didn't really care much for. Wasn't really juiced to seeing. Didn't make it appointment television, let's just say. And that was last night's Sunday Night Football. Yeah, I thought there was a lot of options NBC could have chose. One of the last I would have personally chosen was the Eagles and Washington football team. I understand Washington, winning you're in. But to me, there was a lot of situations winning you're in. I would have picked a bunch of different games before I picked this one. But of course, as we know, the Washington football team wins the game, 20-14. But that is not the story, because them going to the playoffs is not the story. 7-9, they win the NFC East. But the big story is what the Eagles did, what Doug Pederson did. He benched Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter. He decided to put in Nate Sudfeld, despite the fact that the Eagles were only down by 3. The Eagles had the game right there, had a chance to win it, and instead, fourth quarter, Jalen Hurts is benched. Nate Sudfeld comes in. Eagles lose the game. I mean, their offense just goes to crap. And if you're a Giants fan, you're very upset because that cost you a chance at the playoffs. And yes, a lot of people are upset about tanking. right? Because what this loss did was if the Eagles won the game, they would have had the 9th draft pick. Well, they lost the game. Now they have the 6th draft pick. So obviously there's a net gain of 3 positive spots there. Whether it was tanking, whether it was not tanking, whatever Doug Pederson was trying to do, to me, as a neutral observer, as not an Eagles fan, as not a Giants fan who had any skin in the game last night, the Eagles hurt themselves for the future. They didn't help it. Now, I understand, they got a higher draft pick, but their future was still hurt because of what Doug Pederson did last night. So, tanking or not, Doug Pederson at least tried to explain himself after the game, saying he still was coaching to win. Here's Doug Pederson post-game explain his decision to go to Nate Sudfeld.
Yes, I was coaching to win. Yes, that was my decision solely. Nate has obviously been here for 4 years, and I felt that he deserved an opportunity to get some snaps. And listen, if there's anything out there that thinks that I was not trying to win the game, I mean, you know, Ertz is out there, Brandon Graham's out there, Darius Slay's out there. You know, all our top guys are still on the field at the end. So we were going to win the game.
So I just want to say this, right? Because obviously especially a lot of Giants fans were very upset at the decision yesterday and basically called out the Eagles for tanking. This is not the first time we've ever seen a team sit players in order to lose a game. Hell, I am a Colts fan. I watched the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday start Mike Glennon, despite the fact that Gardner Minshew was healthy and ready to go. They sat James Robinson, their dynamic rookie who rushed over 1,000 yards. They sat their best receiver, DJ Chark. And no one said boo. The Jacksonville Jaguars, despite, again, having everything locked up, sat a lot of their best players in their game against Colts yesterday. We see it all the time. The Steelers, with nothing to play for, their postseason bid locked up. They already had the division locked up. And really the only thing was whether they're going to be the 2 seed or the 3 seed. They decided to sit Ben Roethlisberger yesterday. No one was freaking out that the Steelers sat Ben, a lot of other good prominent defensive players as well. No one's freaking out. This is not the first teams have sat players, tried to lose on purpose or not purpose, whatever. Tanking has happened in the NFL. Just so happened that, unfortunately, because this came on Sunday Football, everyone was watching. So let's just cool it with the fake outrage. And how this is awful for the league. The integrity of the NFL is ruined. Plenty of teams lose games on purpose. We just aren't there to notice it. Usually those games aren't on national TV. And yes, like I just said, this helped the Eagles' draft position. They gained 3 spots. They're drafting 6 now in the 2021 draft. But here's why this is different and why this still hurts the future of the Eagles, not helps it. Because their biggest question mark, their biggest goal, their biggest obstacle to clear for 2021, if they want to get back on the winning ways, isn't getting a high draft pick. Isn't getting, a few free agents in the mix. It's figuring out their quarterback position. That is first and foremost. They have to figure out who is going to be under center, what the quarterback dynamics is going to be in 2021. Can they keep Carson Wentz? Do they have to trade him? If they trade him, can they get anything back? How can they adjust the cap? Do they see enough from Jalen Hurts to confidently go into 2021 with him being their starter? That is what's at stake. That is what should be the focus and concern about the Eagles. And in benching Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter, not seeing how he's able to finish games, not seeing what he has, the mental makeup, if he can bounce back from a rough game to try to lead his team back to victory. Doug Pederson and his Eagles team didn't get, or I should say bypassed, the most important commodity right now on this earth. Right? The most important commodity on this earth right now in any walk of life, not just in the NFL, but in any walk of life, is data. It used to be oil. Oil used to be the most valuable resource on earth, but guess what? With the way of information that has gone, with the way technology is changing, data is the most important resource on this earth. Watch any Netflix documentary. The Economist wrote an article back in 2017 about it. I believe it. I don't want to get this wrong. I believe it's A Social Dilemma. Is a Netflix documentary explaining how these social media companies, these tech companies, would basically steal your data in order to use it against you. Find out your buying habits. Find out what you like, and then target ads that you would like, maybe in terms of what you would buy. Maybe target videos to help influence how you think about politics, sports, whatever. Data is the most important resource in the world. Tech companies are all over it. And the NFL, data is the most important resource. Because guess what? How do you make informed decisions? By getting the most information possible in the biggest sample size possible. So sitting Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter yesterday to play Nate Sudfeld hurt this team. Because guess what? You didn't give your team, you didn't give yourself as Doug Pederson, a guy who supposedly by our reports is going to come back next year, you didn't give yourself any extra data points to figure out what your quarterback situation is going to look like for next year. You didn't. You have no clue now what it's going to be. Can you trust Jalen Hurts? Is 3.5 games enough of a sample size to say, you know what, this guy's going to be a franchise quarterback next year? And hey, here's Doug Pederson trying to explain, at least in his mind, why he decided to bench Jalen Hurts and see what he has, quote unquote, in Nate Sudfeld.
Pretty simple. I wanted to get the plan this week was to get Nate some time, and I felt like it was the time to get him in the game.
Felt like he wanted to get Nate some time, and he felt like that was the time to get him in the game. Jalen Hurts, fourth quarter, and again, a decision to make on the most important position of all sports going forward. And you thought in the fourth quarter of the final game of the season, that was the time to get a fourth-year, third-string practice squad quarterback some reps. Not my strategy that I would have done. Not my philosophy that I would have had in this situation. Because let's call it for what it is. The Eagles' quarterback situation is toxic. It's toxic. Carson Wentz, as we know, was awful this year. Now, I'm here to excuse some of those issues with the team, with the offensive line, the receivers, the running backs, the play calling. I think there's more than just Carson Wentz. But let's just call it for what it is. Carson Wentz objectively was bad this year. So you paid him all that money, and now you got to figure out what are we going to do. Because guess what? Here's a guy that reports come out earlier on Sunday that Carson Wentz still is going to ask for a trade. His relationship with Doug Pederson is fractured. He wants to start over next year. He wants to be somewhere else. So either the Eagles are going to keep Carson Wentz, try to rebuild him, and make him their starting quarterback in 2021. But when doing so, at least to me, get rid of Jalen Hurts. Or you're going to trade Carson Wentz and have Jalen Hurts be your guy going forward in 2021. Because honestly, as we know, right, this is a situation where I don't see any situation where both Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts are on the roster next year. Because if you do decide to go down the road of keeping Carson Wentz, right, you get in the big contract, so if you trade him, you'll be in cap hell. He obviously was objectively bad. He's coming off one of the worst years of his career. The fan base is out on Carson Wentz. There's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of questions about him. But if you decide to go with Carson Wentz, you feel like this offseason you can rehab him and get him back to playing some of his best football. You can't do so and then bring Jalen Hurts back. Because as we know, Carson Wentz does not get along with backup quarterbacks. 2017, he gets hurt. Nick Foles leads the team to the Super Bowl. Comes back in 2018. What happens? Carson Wentz constantly looking over his shoulder because the fans love Nick Foles. They saw him just win a Super Bowl. So anytime Carson Wentz threw an incomplete pass, threw an interception, lost the game, the fans were clamoring for Nick Foles. As you know, that caused a rift. Some issues there. Nick Foles goes elsewhere. So how can you say that if Carson Wentz has already been through the dynamic of the backup quarterback being more popular than him one time, that he would sign up to do that again? Because if he comes back and if Jalen Hurts comes back next year, even if Carson Wentz is named the starter, you don't think he's going to be constantly looking over his shoulder? You don't think he's going to be bothered by the fact that any time, again, he has a bad game, Eagles fans are going to be clamoring for Jalen Hurts? He's been in that situation once. I don't think there's any way he wants to do that again. So that's why, to me, if they keep Carson Wentz, if that is their guy going forward, I don't see how Jalen Hurts is on this roster personally. I don't think Wentz would be down with, again, another quarterback situation where he is the second most popular quarterback in Philly. And to go with Jalen Hurts, well, Carson Wentz just told you, I'm not going to be a backup. I'm not going to sit here and be a backup for a guy that you just drafted last year to try to replace me. So, again, now you are trying to make a decision for the future of your franchise at the most important position of all sports. When with an opportunity, again, to see what Jalen Hurts is made of in the fourth quarter of a game where the other team needs a win. Right? This is not just both teams playing out the string. Washington is playing for a chance to go to the playoffs here. They are playing for something that matters. And you have an opportunity, at least in the fourth quarter, to see Jalen Hurts. He's had a rough game so far. 2 rushing touchdowns, but he's 7-20, under 100 yards passing. He didn't have his best game by far. And this is an opportunity to see, all right, can he bounce back? Can he take a hold of his team, be a leader, and guide the offense to a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter? And instead, Doug Pederson opted against extra data points instead of learning more about his young quarterback that potentially could be his guy next year, and opted for, again, a fourth-year, third-string / practice squad quarterback, basically almost sounding like he was doing him a favor by getting him some playing time. That is not the way you approach this. And that's why the Eagles' future is hurt more than it's helped. Yes, you gained 3 spots in the draft, but your quarterback situation still has so many question marks around it that you really don't have a solid answer going forward. You don't. Jalen Hurts has made 4 starts this year, and now you're going to use those 4 starts to try to figure out, is he your franchise guy or not? That is a tough decision to make. If I'm Howie Roseman, the GM, if I'm Doug Pederson, the head coach. So to me, that's the bigger outrage. If I'm an Eagles fan, that's why I'm more upset. You had a valuable shot to learn more about your young quarterback, and you basically openly said, no, thanks, I'm good. I'll pass on that. I'll pass on learning extra data points and basically pass on the most important resource in all the world, data. So sure, you gain 3 draft spots, you move up in the draft, maybe, who knows, maybe that's a difference between a franchise-altering tackle or a linebacker or a receiver. But it's not worth to me having all these massive question marks at quarterback still not answered. Doesn't. So I'm curious your thoughts. You watched the game. You saw all the outrage. For your Giants fan, I'm sure you are very upset. But did the Eagles gain anything about tanking? They got the 3 draft spots. Did they gain anything else from it? Because again, to me, the biggest question mark is still at the quarterback position. That's one they have to figure out some answers to, and to me, they got no answers coming out of this game. So take your thoughts. Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. So get your thoughts on when we come back. The playoff field is set. 14 teams, 7 in the AFC, 7 in the NFC. How many teams, and we'll include the Washington football team in this, right? They make the playoffs at 7-9. Can they win a playoff game? How many teams can't win a playoff game? We'll do that next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you here until 11 a.m. Eastern. We're rocking and rolling, reacting to the Eagles deciding to sit Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter yesterday, essentially tank the game, move from 9-6 in the draft. And yes, I understand Giants fans are very upset, very, very angry at Doug Pederson for doing so, essentially costing themselves a shot for the playoffs. But for me, the most egregious part and why it's just ridiculous what the Eagles did and what Doug Pederson did isn't because, again, they openly tanked a game. That happens a lot. It just so happened that it was on the national stage where we all saw this happen. But for me, the biggest issue and the bigger issue with Doug Pederson sitting Jalen Hurts is that was the one position, that was the one game where you still need to figure out what you have. The biggest question for the Eagles in 2021. Who is going to be their quarterback? What direction are they going to go with their quarterback? And by all means, again, Carson Wentz, there's a report by Chris Mortensen out early Sunday morning, reiterating the fact that Carson Wentz is going to ask for a trade this offseason. He wants out of Philly. So if you hear that, all of a sudden now, if that trade does go down, Jalen Hurts is going to be your starting quarterback. So you got to figure out, if you're Doug Pederson, if you're Howie Roseman, the general manager, what do we have in Jalen Hurts? Because two things are going to happen here for me. Either Carson Wentz is going to be the guy next year. They're going to keep him, hold on to him, try to rehab him. And then, 2019, he was good. 2017, he could have won the MVP if he wasn't hurt. This is still our guy. We paid him the massive contract. We still believe in Carson Wentz. He's going to be our quarterback going forward. But if you do that, I don't think you'd have Jalen Hurts on the team. We saw the backup quarterback dynamic with Carson Wentz does not work. Nick Foles was the fan favorite back in 2018. Carson Wentz constantly looking over his shoulder impacted his play. Now I don't see Carson Wentz, I should say, wanting to sign up for that situation again. So if he comes back, if he's on board with returning to the Eagles, maybe reneges on his draft request, or just they say, no, you're going to be our guy, I don't think Jalen Hurts can still be on this roster personally. So you got to trade him. Or if you do trade Wentz, if you give up, you say, you know what, this guy, he just needs to change his scenery. We can't really do much to change him going forward. I think it's time to roll Jalen Hurts. Don't you want to see what you have in Jalen Hurts? As much as possible. He made 4 starts this year. Don't you want to, before you hand the keys over to him, to your organization, to the franchise, figure out, hey, maybe we'll try to get as much information as possible before we make this decision. Like you just said, the most important resource on all the earth right now is data. How can we get as much information about the situation as possible before we make an informed decision? And Doug Pederson, by pulling Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter, didn't give himself every opportunity to find out what he has in Jalen Hurts. He made that his decision going forward that much harder into next year, deciding what the quarterback is going to be. So to me, that's the biggest issue with what the Eagles did. Their future was hurt. Not because they tanked, not because some players are going to be upset that they lost on purpose, but because the most important position in all of sports is still not solved. And really, you don't feel any more confident one way or another about what the position is going to be next year. If Jalen Hurts plays that game, he leads, let's say a fourth quarter comeback, and the Eagles win that game. Don't you feel a little bit more confident giving the keys over to Jalen Hurts next year, be your starting quarterback? Don't you feel a little bit better that, hey, you know what? He had a rough game through 3 quarters, but he still bounced back, found a way to win. We can work with that. Or if he continues to struggle, maybe that Saints game in the first start was a little more of an aberration. Maybe the book is out on Jalen Hurts a little bit, and maybe you feel less confident as an organization saying, you know what? I don't think we can give Jalen Hurts the keys. I don't think Jalen Hurts we can trust to give him over the franchise next year. Maybe we'll hold on to Carson Wentz and try to rehab him, and guess what? In doing so, again, I think Jalen Hurts would get traded in that situation, but at least you have as much information, I should say, as possible. Doug Pederson did not allow himself to get as much information as possible from that situation. That's my biggest issue with what the Eagles did last night. Ricardo Etienne writes on Facebook, thanks for listening, Ricardo. One of them, half, in all caps, have to go for the Eagles to move forward. And I agree. Speaking of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, I don't think the Eagles can run that quarterback room back next year. I don't. So with that said, I think one of those guys is going to have to go. And I don't think you gave yourself any more options, any more answers than you did coming into the game. CJ D. Simone. CJ, what's up, buddy? By the way, CJ, one of our own, hosts a great show every Sunday night, Jets specific. And guess what? I'll say this because I'm in a group chat with CJ. Let's just say last night's show is a must listen once the news came down that Adam Gase was fired. No one is happier that Adam Gase is gone than CJ D. Simone. So weapons hot. Every Sunday night, CJ does a great job at hosting it. He writes on Facebook, if Carson Wentz is going to be a QB1 next year, you don't look over your shoulder. You go out and play to win the job. He needs to stop being afraid of the backup. If he is and he's damaged goods, he needs to go. Now, that's fair. That is fair. That is, more of a mindset thing than maybe that hurts, maybe that's a reason why Carson Wentz has struggled of late. Maybe mentally he's not tough enough, strong enough to overcome some of those situations like other quarterbacks can, right? We see competition brings out the best in everyone, right? Some quarterbacks rise when they are challenged, when there is a challenge put in front of them, when they are maybe their skill is challenged, their talent is questioned. They will look that in the face and rise above it. And others, as we know, crumble. CJ brings up a good point. Maybe Carson Wentz is one of those guys when, again, adversity strikes, when there's a quarterback competition or there's maybe a question of his talent, of his skill going forward, he shrinks. That's, again, something you got to find out. And if that is the case, wouldn't you want to find out everything possible you have in Jalen Hurts before you make a decision one way or another? That's, to me at least, this should have been the mindset. Forget the draft pick. Figure out what you got with your quarterbacks. Because if you can't, guess what? You're in no better place for 2021 than you are right now. So that's my biggest issue. CJ also writes in, this is an interesting one. Here's a smart move. Keep Hurts, trade Wentz, re-sign Foles to back up Hurts. How about that? Could you imagine, Eagles fans? They trade Carson Wentz and sign Nick Foles to be the backup quarterback. Man, I don't know how Eagles fans will react to that because it seems like they like Jalen Hurts and they love Nick Foles. That would be very, very wild. So if you want to comment on what the Eagles did last night, do you care that they tanked? Do you care that Doug Pederson essentially threw the game on national TV, Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio? You want to tweet me directly, Ryan Hickey Show. I have no problem with it. But again, my biggest issue is that they really didn't help themselves, I should say, in any way, going to 2021. You got to find out what you got at quarterback, and they did not give themselves every opportunity to find out. So keep taking Eagles thoughts again. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. If you want to tweet me there directly. So quickly here, I want to throw this question by you, right? Like we said, the playoff field is set in the NFL. 14 teams. 7 in the AFC, 7 in the NFC. Washington football team is one of those teams now that they won. Whether they won the game or the Eagles gave them the game, whatever you want to call it, the football team is in the playoffs. So I want to ask you this. In a AFC conference that is seemingly wide open, I don't think it's outrageous to say that any team can win a playoff game. In the NFC, that seems a little more structured, a little more known, a little less random, we'll say, right? How many teams in your mind, now that the playoff field is set and all 14 are in, how many playoff teams can't, here's the operative word, can't win a playoff game? Because I look at the landscape of the AFC, I look at the teams who make the playoffs in the NFC. To me, there's only 2 teams I can confidently say right here on January 4th that I don't think can win a playoff game this week. Both coming in the NFC. We'll start right where we just left off with the Eagles and Washington football team game last night. They've been a great story. The football team has. What Ron Rivera has done taking over this team has been incredible. His battle to fight cancer, taking over an organization that is just riddled with incompetency, controversy, awful leadership. There is just a lot going against whoever was the head coach of the Washington football team. So to Ron Rivera's credit, getting them 7-9 in the playoffs is an incredible accomplishment. Alex Smith coming back after that awful, scary leg injury to be the quarterback to help lead them to the playoffs. Incredible stories all around. With that said, when we realistically look at the playoffs, they have no shot. They have no shot, and it's all because of their offense. Their offense is putrid. It's tough to watch. Tough to watch is probably the best way to say it. There's really no threats. I like Terry McLaurin, but unfortunately, he's the only real threat they have on that team. Take him away. The offense is tough. Entering last night's game, they were 30th in the NFL in yards per game, 26th in the NFL in points per game scored, 26th in the NFL in passing yards per game. There's just zero threats on that team at all. And now going against Tampa Bay, with that Buccaneers offense starting to really hit their stride the last few games, I don't see any way. Even if the defense plays well for the football team, I don't see any way where this offense can score even more than 10 or 14 points. So a great story, also run by the football team, but it's 7-9. I'll say this, I think they have zero shot at beating the Buccaneers. Another team I think personally has zero shot at winning a game, Chicago Bears. I mean, to their credit, the fact they even made the playoffs is sort of a minor miracle. Losing 60 games in the middle of the year, looking awful, kind of have no clue about their quarterback position at all. Mitch comes back, actually plays decent. But let's call for what it is. Because the Bears getting to the playoffs, they did so for one reason and one reason only. Well, 2 reasons. The Cardinals is absolutely choked. We'll get into them later on. What a disaster the Cardinals have been. But the Bears feasted on awful teams to help them get back in the playoff race. And their 3 wins to end the year: Texans, Vikings, Jaguars. Now on paper, in the box score, the Bears look like they played a good game. But let's call for what it is. The Bears are total frauds. The Bears can beat the bad teams. They cannot beat the good to great teams. Easy for me to say. The Bears have played 7 games this season against teams with a winning record. Do you want to guess what the record is? 7 teams on the Bears schedule in 2020 that had a winning record. What is the Bears' record against those teams? 1-6. 1-6, their lone win against the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football earlier in the year. And they stink. Their offense, again, for all the goodwill that they got beating up on the bad teams like the Texans, the Vikings, the Jaguars, yesterday against the Packers was a reality check. Now, I understand the Packers are going to be the number 1 seed, and I've said it on the show the last few weeks. I don't think anyone's going to Lambeau and win. So losing to a team that I believe was going to go to the Super Bowl, not the worst thing in the world. But why it's more of an indictment on the Bears is because now you see truly what this team is against good teams. Mitch can look good against an awful Texans defense, against a Vikings defense that's banged up, against a Jaguars defense that openly is trying to lose games. he can look good. But as soon as you play any sort of team with skill, this team folds. They shrink. They're frauds. So that's why, to me, they have zero shot to beat the Saints. Zero shot. And those, to me, are the only two teams I think right now I could sit here and say out of the 14 teams, I think 12 can legitimately win the playoffs. I don't think the Bears can win a playoff game. I don't think the football team can win a playoff game. I mean, the Rams, look, I'll throw out some quick teams I'm sure you could have an argument for, but why I think that they will. The Rams. Who knows? We'll see what Jared Goff's status is. He's not great anyway this year. So, John Wolford, whether he starts or not, the quarterback position is going to be a question mark going into the game against Seattle anyway. But their defense, the Rams defense, legitimately gives this team a chance to win. They get after the quarterback. They're second in the NFL in sacks. They are first in yards per game allowed, first in passing yards per game allowed. And let's call for what it is. This Seahawks offense that they're going up against, not really gelling at all, actually. Best example of that is just yesterday, watching that game against 49ers. Though data sync, out of whack, they couldn't get anything going. The second half of the year, Russell Wilson has come back down to earth. We're letting him cook in the first half. The second half, he struggled. I don't think the Rams, it's not outrageous to say that they can't go in and win in Seattle. They already beat them once this year. And their defense, to me, is good enough to slow down the Seahawks offense. I still don't really personally trust the Seattle defense and their turnaround to be legitimate. But there's a chance to me. I'm not ruling the Rams out of winning that game. I'm not. So that's, to me, again, John Wolford, Jared Goff, whoever's going to be started for the Rams, I still think they can have a legitimate chance to win. The Colts, I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer here as a Colts fan. To me, the one team I didn't want to play in the playoffs was Buffalo in the first round. But I will say this. The Colts and their offensive, or really their team game plan, they have the recipe for success. Now, whether they can carry it out to their best ability and win a game is a different story. But they have the ingredients needed to pull an upset in Buffalo. They have an awesome ground attack, establish a run, keep Josh Allen's offense on the sideline. And Jonathan Taylor just yesterday for 253 yards. They can run the ball really well. Jonathan Taylor, especially himself, is really getting into a groove now the last half of the year. And the front seven on defense for the Colts is very good. Solid defensive line, great linebackers. I think they can give Josh Allen this Bills offense some fits. I do. Am I going to pick them to win? I'm not. But would it shock me if the Colts go into Buffalo and win? Honestly, I can't say it would. Like I would say I would be totally floored, flabbergasted, just mind blown if the football team beats the Buccaneers or if the Bears beat the Saints. I think there are legitimate flaws with both those teams that I can't see them overcoming to win a playoff game, where I think the Rams and Colts have areas to attack that could lead to some success. So again, 14 teams, right? We expand the playoff by 2 teams. You'd think that would allow some bad teams in. I only think 2 teams out of 14 can't win a playoff game. So here's your thoughts. Again, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show. Also on Twitter. To me there. How many teams can't win a playoff game? Can't. No shot. Get your thoughts. And when we come back, we'll go from 2 teams that can't win a playoff game, that are struggling, to 2 teams that are red hot that I don't think anyone wants to see in the playoffs. So do that next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless service at MMA Long Island and Setuha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, the Ryan Hickey Show with you until 11 a.m. Eastern. NFL regular season in the books. The playoff field is set, 14 teams. How many do you think can win a playoff game? Or really, I should say, how many can't? I think it's only 2. Bears and the Rams. Get your thoughts in a second here. But some breaking news, like I told you. It's Black Monday in the NFL. We'll keep you updated on all the head coaching firings, updates, keepings, general manager firings. A lot's going to happen. A lot of shuffling in the personnel that's going to happen today. And we had another domino drop. Adam Gase, first coach fired after Week 17 yesterday by the Jets. That list continues to add now as Doug Marrone can be added to that list. He is officially out in Jacksonville. So the Jaguars fired their general manager earlier this year, keep Doug Marrone, and now they have relieved Doug Marrone of their duties. No surprise. No real surprise there. So he joins the list of Dan Quinn by the Falcons, Matt Patricia by the Lions, Bill O'Brien with the Texans, and, of course, Adam Gase last night, who was just relieved of his duties as the 5 head coach openings currently in the NFL. So we'll see. I mean, I do like the thought, I should say, of Urban Meyer going to the NFL. I think that would be a very good option personally for Jacksonville. I think his style would actually translate well to the NFL. I think it would be a good fit there in Jacksonville. So we'll see if that's the move. There's some rumors and links there that could be happening, but at least officially, because obviously you couldn't hire Urban Meyer before you fired Doug Marrone. that has officially happened. So Doug Marrone, breaking news, has been fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Adam Gase fired last night by the Jets. So those are the first 2 head coaching firings since Week 17 has been in the books. Obviously, again, joining the 3 head coach firings that happened in season in Detroit, Atlanta, and Houston. So again, we're talking about the playoffs, and we'll obviously keep you updated on everything that's going on throughout Black Monday for sure here. But we're talking about the NFL playoffs. How many teams in your mind can't win a playoff game? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Tweet me directly at Ryan Hickey Show. CJ writes on Facebook, he believes Washington and the Rams get bounced first. See, I said the 2 teams for me personally were Washington. We agree on that. And I said the Bears. Bears are 1-6 against teams with winning records this year. I think they are total frauds. Mitch is playing better. I think it's an aberration because, again, when you're playing defense like the Texans, the Vikings, the Jaguars, I mean, honestly, me and you could look good under center for the Bears. Those defenses are awful. They are banged up. Some of them have mailed it in. Jacksonville, I'm not really still convinced they're trying to win games. So, yeah, those numbers, shockingly, are pretty hollow. So, just personally, that's why I can't see the Bears winning a game. CJ goes to Rams. Obviously, again, we'll see what the quarterback situation is like. John Wolford started yesterday, won the game. Now, he beat a Cardinals quarterback that I honestly have never heard of. CFL legend, allegedly. So, hey, a win is a win. We'll give him credit, but whether it's him, whether it's Jared Goff going to the playoffs, there still will be a question mark around the Rams' quarterback position. But I do trust their defense, and I don't really like the way Seattle's playing offensively. I think defensively, the Rams can keep them in this game where they could win a game. The Rams are one of those teams, too, weirdly, that just when you write them off, just when you think, all right, this team, not as good as we really think, they get an impressive win. Conversely, you think, okay, maybe the Rams are a team that, you know what, maybe we should start paying more attention to this team. This team could be very dangerous in the playoffs. As we know, their defense is elite. And when Jared Goff is on, now not often, but when he is on, this offense is humming. And then they go out and lose to the Jets. So, yeah. You know, the Rams are one of those teams where could I see them winning a game? Absolutely. Because just when you doubt them, they have a good game. And just when you start to buy in on their hype and start to actually think they're a legitimate team, they lose games they shouldn't lose. That's what it is. I have the Rams. CJ has Washington and the Rams. 2 teams that can't win. So I'm curious your thoughts. How many teams in the NFL can't, being the operative word, win a playoff game? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter if you want to chime in the conversation as well. So I want to go from 2 teams that personally I think have no shot to 2 teams that I think have a great shot that are in the wild card right now, that if you are a team in the home playoff game that's going to face them this week, that could face them next week, you don't want to see this team in the playoffs. Right, so the caveat, obviously, being the wild card teams, not in the top 4. I think, to me, the Packers are a team you don't want to face in the playoffs. Obviously, the Chiefs, the Bills, teams you don't want to face in the playoffs. As a Colts fan, I really don't want to face the Bills, but what are you going to do? But from a wild card perspective, the Ravens in the AFC, the Buccaneers in the NFC, right now, playing some of their best football this season. They're 2 of the hottest teams in all the NFL. And I don't think if you're a Titans fan facing the Ravens, if you are a Washington football team, but even if they get past that game, and whether it's the Packers, whether it's the Saints, I don't think you feel good about watching or having the Buccaneers come into your house. These are 2 teams that I would not want to see in the playoffs. So start with the Ravens. 11-5 in the year. They are winners of 5 games in a row. In those 5 wins, averaging 37.2 points per game. Crushing an offense. Their defense has been stout, 17.8 points per game. Now, they did have, in that stretch, did allow 42 points to the Browns in that epic Monday night game a few weeks ago. But other than that, their defense has been very stout. Now, to be fair, right, I just crapped on the Bears because they beat bad teams, and I called them frauds essentially for kind of propping up their record because they played some bad teams. Now, the Ravens, let's just say their schedule wasn't the strongest going down the stretch. 4 of the last 5 wins have come over the Cowboys, the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Bengals. 4 of the worst teams in the NFL. But here's why I'm still believing in the Ravens. Because I think at this point, it's more about them hitting their stride and playing to their potential rather than just beating up on bad teams. Because there's really zero doubt about the talent on this Ravens team, right? Like they returned the reigning MVP in Lamar Jackson. This team won their final 12 games in the regular season last year. They were the number one seed in the playoffs. Now, obviously, they lost in the first round. But they're still, talent-wise, there's no doubt about this team. They even got better. They got Calais Campbell. I like the way they drafted. J.K. Dobbins has been a stud this year. So the talent was never a question. It was, could they come together in time? Could they come together to play their best football right now? They had COVID issues, a wonky schedule, and now really since they got everyone back healthy, they are playing some of their best football this last month. A big reason, a big boost, by the way, which gives you some confidence as well. It's not just all on the ground. Granted, they ran for 404 yards yesterday. Incredible. They just ran the ball at will against the Bengals. But Hollywood Brown coming to life is a nice little boost for this offense that makes them even harder to defend. Speedster, and really gives them a threat in the passing game because he's had 6 touchdowns the last 6 games compared to just 2 the first 10 games of the year. And I was ready to call this guy a bust. And I still, have some questions. But him coming alive, providing another threat to this offense is huge for Lamar. Huge for this Ravens team. So to me, this is a different team that's entering Nashville than it was when they played back in Week 11 when the Titans won in overtime. This is a very different team. And again, if I am the Titans, the Steelers, even the Bills or the Chiefs, I don't feel great about the Ravens coming into my house. I don't. That is a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. And conversely, NFC side, I think there's a lot of same comparisons as just used for the Ravens, I think could also be used for the Buccaneers. Because they're winners of 4 in a row. And again, they played some bad teams. They played the Vikings, the Falcons, twice, and the Lions. Again, some of the worst teams you could play to finish out your season. But similar to the Ravens, again, the talent is there. It's just about can they put it all together. And this offense, for the first time all season long, it looks like it's starting to come together. 37 points per game in these last 4 games. Tom Brady. Well, don't look now, by the way. Everyone tried to write off Tom Brady, especially after that rough game 1 against the Saints. Another rough game a few weeks later on Sunday Night Football when they just got blitzed and destroyed by the Saints on Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady, this season, thrown for 4,633 yards, 3rd in the NFL. 3rd in the NFL. Passing yards. Tied for 2nd in touchdown passes with 40. So yeah, he's still feeling it. He has still some gas left in the tank. And right now, again, similar to Baltimore, this team is coming together at the right time. There's all about whether they can gel, whether Tom Brady can fit into this offense, whether Bruce Arians can figure out how to get the most out of Tom Brady in this offense. I think that is all coming together right now. Like that is all the perfect combination for right now. For despite playing bad teams for both the Ravens and the Buccaneers, that helped them get on the right track, get some momentum going. And I think, again, if you're Green Bay, if you're New Orleans, if you're Seattle, next week you have the Bucs coming to town. Or if you're Kansas City or Buffalo or Pittsburgh, you have the Ravens coming to town. I would be very, very, very nervous. Because again, despite playing bad teams, I think it's more about the talent that they have and them coming together and playing their best football now than it is just benefiting from a bad schedule. Both have a ton of talent on their team, offensively and defensively. I mean, after weeks of struggling, weeks of looking out of sorts, they are putting it together. So I'm curious. You look at the Buccaneers, you look at the Ravens. Can either of those teams make a real threat in the playoffs? Can they make a deep run? And so the Titans do it last year. Right? Go to the AFC title game. Take a 10-point lead in the Chiefs. Can the Ravens take a book out of the Titans page, or a page out of the Titans book, I should say, and run that back the way they did? For the Buccaneers, a team that, honestly, I'll be honest here, all season long, I compared them to the Clippers, where the regular season doesn't really matter. They were gearing up to play their best football in January. And right now, they are doing it. And I'll be honest, there was points this year where I really had my questions about the Buccaneers, where I really was like, I don't know if it's going to come together. This last month of the season, it is coming together. Now, you can blame it on bad teams, sure. I'll take it as they are finally on the same page, finally figuring out how to best work this offense. Antonio Brown's getting involved, which is something I never thought I'd be saying as a positive. He's been, giving this offense some life. We'll see if Mike Evans can play with his knee injury. But this offense is finally starting to hum together and actually look like it's supposed to look. It is looking like it was supposed to look that we envisioned in the preseason. So are you buying into the Buccaneers or are you buying into the Ravens? Can either of these teams be a legitimate playoff threat to make a deep run and upset a few teams? I'm curious. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter if you want to tweet me directly. Comment on the live stream on Facebook. So get your thoughts. Roxana, Charlie, Ashley, Bella, big fan of the show. Appreciate him listening. Big Cowboys fan. Writes in, do you really think Tembe will make it? Will say it. I'm just gonna read this for what it says. Do you really think TB and Bucks will say if they make it to the Super Bowls? I'm gonna guess maybe he's asking if I think they can make a run. I think they can make a deep run in the playoffs. Now, again, I think that this, to me personally, this is an NFC where I don't think anyone's going to Lambeau and win. So I'm not going to be predicting the Buccaneers to go to the Super Bowl. But as you sit there right now, can they make a run to the NFC title game? I think absolutely they could. We'll see how the seeding works. If they have to go to Lambeau in the divisional round, but I think this could definitely be a situation where the Buccaneers are going to be a tough out either way. So offense is coming together and they're looking good. So again, are the Buccaneers a threat? Are the Ravens a threat in your mind? Worldwide Sports Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio. On Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. When we come back, I'm excited for this one. I think there's a lot of good answers on both sides. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now that the regular season is in the books, right? 17 games come and gone. We know the playoff teams. You know who's going home. Who is the biggest surprise in the NFL? Who is the biggest disappointment in terms of teams in the NFL? So I'm curious your thoughts. We'll do that next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network right here. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with it, coming to you live as we always are. From the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria, person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, online anywhere at BigItalyPizza.com. Reacting a lot to the Eagles' decision to bench Jalen Hurts last night and instead start Nate Sudfeld. Thought that was a mistake more because they hurt their future and not trying to figure out what their quarterback position answer is going to be for 2021. A lot of questions, not a lot of answers. That's going to be very interesting. And, of course, we just informed you before the breaking news. Doug Marrone out as Jaguars head coach. He joins the likes of Adam Gase, Dan Quinn, Matt Patricia, and Bill O'Brien as those fired so far in 2020. We'll keep you updated on any other coaching carousel news in the NFL as Black Monday is upon us. We'll see what decisions are made going forward with the rest of the teams in question. Anthony Lynn is going to be a guy, a big question out there in Los Angeles, his future. So we'll keep you updated on everything before we get out of here in an hour at 11 a.m. Eastern. But speaking of at least coaches getting fired, right, that would imply that they had a disappointing season. They struggled. And that's what I at least want to get into here. Which team, now the regular season in the books, which team was the biggest surprise in a positive way in the NFL in 2020? And which team was the biggest disappointment for you in the NFL? So how I want to do this is this. I will quickly revisit my preseason predictions. Just let you know what I was expecting coming into the year. This is what I thought. This is, how I viewed some of these teams. So at least give you some sort of background on why I'm picking my most surprising team the way it is and why I'm picking my most disappointing team the way it is. So quickly, AFC East, I picked the Bills won. AFC North, I picked the Ravens, Steelers won. South, I had the Colts, the Titans won. West, had the Chiefs won. Wild cards, I picked the Browns, Steelers, Texans, ended up being the Browns, Ravens, and Colts. So all things considered, 6 out of 7 playoff teams I got right. The only team I missed on was the Texans in terms of including them in the playoffs that didn't belong. So, okay, not bad. Pretty much thought, for the most part, how it went. Got a few divisions wrong, but at least had the playoff teams somewhat right for the most part. NFC is a little bit different. Had the Cowboys winning the NFC East, football team won. Had the Vikings, that was a big win. Vikings winning the NFC North. Instead, that ended up being the Green Bay Packers. South had the Saints won. Seahawks, I picked. Seahawks also won. Wild cards, Buccaneers, 49ers crushed that. Cardinals crushed that. That was my picks in the wild card. Instead ended up being the Buccaneers, Rams, and the Bears. Of course, just like we all thought. So a few more wrong in the NFC. But again, for the most part, sort of in the same ballpark. So I want to lay out that to at least tell you what my biggest surprise is, personally, going back to how I view these teams in the preseason. My biggest surprise this year in 2020 was the Green Bay Packers. Because as you could just see, I picked the Vikings to win the North, and I didn't even have the Packers making the playoffs this year. At 13-3 last year, I thought this team basically got every right break go there, but I thought there was a major regression coming. Because let's just call it for what it is. Last year felt fraudulent for the Packers. Right? Again, an impressive record, 13-3, you're not going to argue that. When you look at the stats, when you look at truly how good they were, especially in offense, when you have Aaron Rodgers there, right? When you hire Matt LaFleur as an offensive-minded coach to try to bring the best out of the offense, right? What happened? Mike McCarthy was in Green Bay. The offense got stagnant. You brought Matt LaFleur in to give the offense some juice. And what happened? Despite going at 13-3, this offense really never got going, never even felt dangerous. They were 18th in the NFL last year in yards per game on average. They were 15th in points per game scored, just 23.5. And they're outside of the top 10 in rushing yards per game and passing yards per game. So there's nothing really that the Packers offense was good at. And so you couple that with, all right, they got a few good lucky breaks, if you will. They played a bunch of bad teams last year. They won a lot of close games, especially against teams that they really shouldn't have had close games against. So, all right, there's a regression coming. And then you add on top of that with how they addressed their draft. Essentially drafting like they were going into a rebuild. I thought this team was going to hit the skids. I really did. I thought this team was going to regress back to the mean. I thought this had 8-8, maybe 9-7 written all over it. Because what happened, right? What are the two areas of weakness we knew that the Packers had last year? A second wide receiver, love Devontae Adams, he's a stud. But there's no one really behind him that gets you nervous. Okay, that's not really good, because if you take Devontae Adams away, no one's really there to step up. They need a second receiver, and they needed help with their rush defense. I mean, San Francisco just totally gashed them up and down the field in the AFC title game. They got blown out of the water. So so a team that is 13-3, that still has Aaron Rodgers in his prime, or at least playing at a high level, you think, all right, they'll address those two positions and try to run it back. Instead, they draft and trade up in the first round to draft a quarterback. Then they followed that up in the second round by drafting a running back. arguably the two positions they did not need. They had filled. Aaron Jones is a great running back. Jamal Williams is a nice, change of pace back. And then you had Aaron Rodgers still. So they drafted, with their first two picks, two positions that I thought were the two most secure on the team heading into 2021. Or heading into 2020. So they were drafting like they were in a rebuild. So yeah, I'll be honest, I did not see a similar 13-3 record coming. I did not see a rejuvenation of this offense coming. I thought the offense was going to be more of the same. I thought the defense was going to take a step back because, again, a lot of breaks went their way. They won a lot of close games against bad teams. Usually in the NFL, that evens out. One year you win a lot of close games, the next year you lose a lot of close games. When the margins are so close from team to team, breaks usually will go your way one year and then go against you another year. But all those offensive stats I just ranked for you last year, or for 2019, right? 18th, I believe I just said, in yards per game, 15th in points per game. They did nothing to address that. But still, as you sit here in 2020, outstandingly, the Packers are third in the NFL in yards per game. Almost 400 yards they're averaging. 393.9. So essentially 394 yards per game. They are first in the NFL. More than the Chiefs, more than the Saints, more than the Titans who were up there for a while, in points per game scored, 31.6. And they are top 10 in the NFL in both passing yards per game and rushing yards per game. This is without addressing anything. They didn't bring in a second wide receiver. They didn't bring in, better weapons for Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball to. Essentially, they ran it back, drafted like they were, already trying to play for the future, and instead had the offense totally turn around. And now they have the number one seed, and I think they're going to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I did not see this year, this record coming from the Packers. I did not. So that's, to me, why the total biggest surprise. I didn't even have them making the playoffs, and maybe that was just me not buying into the Packers as much. Maybe that's not me showing enough respect for Aaron Rodgers, just the pure talent that he is. But I really thought a major regression was coming for Green Bay, and I did not see a similar 13-3 record, and even better because this record feels legitimate. Last year felt fraudulent. This feels legitimate. So that's why they're my biggest surprise. More than the Browns. More than the Steelers, who were another team that I had picking in the playoffs, but that was a team that I did not really feel confident in. Didn't really feel great about, considering Big Ben coming off the injury. The offense not really, having a lot of pieces that scared you. And then they go, of course, start the year 11-0. The football team, no one thought they'd make the playoffs. 7-9, say what you will. That's a surprise. But I will go with the Green Bay Packers, for me personally, as the biggest surprise in the NFL at 13-3. The biggest disappointment in the NFL. I'll stick here in the NFC, and I think this is going to be a little bit of a surprise because there was hype with this team, but at the same time, they haven't accomplished anything, so it wasn't like it was Super Bowl or bust. It wasn't like there was a lot of these accomplished players that just fell short. But with that said, I'm going to go with the biggest disappointment of 2020 as the Arizona Cardinals at 8-8. Now, like I said, it's kind of weird to say that because they are a young team. Kyler Murray is in year 2 with Cliff Kingsbury. They have a young team, a young roster on both offense and defense. But with the way this season started, high-flying, scoring a lot of points, winning games, and with how this season ended, I mean, basically the complete opposite of that, that is super disappointing for me, and that's why, honestly, I give this crown to the Cardinals more than, let's say, the Cowboys, the 49ers, who both had injuries that I think really hurt and derailed their seasons. The Cardinals just really don't have many excuses, to be honest. They're just bad play. And that's why, to me, they are on this list as the most disappointing. But let's not forget, this team, again, there was hype, similar to the Browns last year, where there's a lot of pieces in place, but with the Browns in 2019, they won the Super Bowl in the offseason, but we didn't really see, this team never accomplished anything. So they were disappointing at 6-10, but it's not like this was this veteran, laden group that, again, has been through the ringer and know what it takes. This is a team that's still trying to learn how to win. It's similar to the Cardinals going to this year, right? They get DeAndre Hopkins. They have a lot of young pieces. You're saying, okay, look, this team really, that was a trendy playoff pick. I picked them to go to the playoffs. Some people I saw picked them to go to the Super Bowl. So the Browns hype in 2019 was what kind of the Cardinals had in 2020. And they start off the year at least believing. 6-3. Offense was scoring 29.5 points per game. So nearly 30 points per game this offense was averaging. Kyler Murray, high-flying, so much fun, one of the most exciting young players in the game. Totaled 27 touchdowns, both on the ground and in the air, right? Through the first 9 games of the year. Basically the first half of the year. So they start off 6-3. Impressive wins over the Seahawks, the Bills. Like, this team had legitimate vibes going. And what happened? The last 7 games, 2-5, 20.5 points per game. Kyler Murray totaled 10 touchdowns. So almost 10 less points per game they averaged in the last 7 games compared to the first 9. Kyler Murray just 10 total touchdowns the final 7 games of the year. Now, I understand yesterday he was hurt for a lot of that game, didn't really play much, but that still does not excuse the total debacle that happened with the Arizona Cardinals. Because what happened was Cliff Kingsbury's offense was figured out and he never adjusted. Either he couldn't adjust, didn't know how to adjust, or refused to adjust. But he was figured out. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL the first 9 games of the season. They were scoring on everyone. And they, again, either were solved, ran out of gas, whatever it was. But I think it was more scheme-oriented. I think it was more Cliff Kingsbury-oriented than it was maybe injuries. Maybe it was just fatigue. And to me, that's why it's so disappointing. Because this team showed you potential. They showed you they can score with anyone. They can be a fun, exciting offense that can have success. And what led them to that success, the offense, sputtered out in the second half of the year, and they are now sitting here at 8-8 and missing the playoffs. Losing to John Wolford in Week 17 and miss out on the playoffs after losing to a depleted 49ers team the week before that at home with another chance to make the playoffs. Team should have been 10-6. Instead they lose 8-8. So again, that to me, that's why they're the most disappointing team. Team that still doesn't accomplish anything, right? It was more hype than actual substance. But I bought into the hype, and the way this year started at 6-3 again, being one of the best offenses in the NFL, having one of those exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL, and Kyler Murray, to get figured out the way they did, to not adjust, not be able to scheme better than defenses are scheming against you, Cliff Kingsbury. That's, to me at least, why I have the Cardinals as the most disappointing team. Again, 49ers, to me, disappointing, but also injury-riddled. So there's an excuse. Cowboys, same thing. Now, I believed in the Cowboys this year maybe more than others. I really did think truly that Mike McCarthy would be the difference in just not being as safe as Jason Garrett would, as conservative as Jason Garrett was. I thought that would be the difference in the Cowboys. Again, as we know, Dak gets hurt, but even before that, this team was awful. The Vikings, I picked the Vikings to win the NFC North. That's a shame on me for believing in Kirk Cousins. But I will go the Arizona Cardinals to me for the way they started the year, then how they ended the year as the most disappointing team. And I have the Packers at 13-3 is my biggest surprise. Didn't have them going to the playoffs in my preseason picks. Didn't think they would have any chance to replicate the success that they had last year. And they did that. So that's for me, Packers most surprising, Cardinals most disappointing. But I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. @Ryan Hickey Show. Also on Twitter. Tweet me your thoughts. You can write on the Periscope live feed. Write on the live stream on Facebook. It's at Worldwide Sports Network. Who is the most disappointing team in the NFL? Who is the biggest surprise in the NFL? We'll get your thoughts. And when we come back, we want to react to the College Football Playoff. That is in the books. Ohio State, a very surprising, convincing win over Clemson. Well, that loss, strictly, is on Dabo Swinney's shoulders. I'll explain why next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on this Monday, the first day, or the first Monday, I should say, the first show in 2021. We have made it. Congratulations, all of us, on surviving what was a tough year, to say the least. We have made it. Hopefully 2021 is much better than what we just experienced in 2020. And with a new year also comes a new season. That is the NFL playoffs. So we're getting a lot of your thoughts on who has been the most disappointing team in the NFL in 2020. Who has been the biggest surprise in 2020? I had the Packers as the biggest surprise. The Cardinals as the biggest disappointment. I'll have to get your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. And we're also reacting to the Eagles. They decided to bench Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter, essentially throw the game away, put Nate Sudfeld in it, and give the Washington football team basically the NFC East. Giants fans are upset because that cost them a shot to go to the playoffs. But my biggest issue with that decision is that it doesn't really help the Eagles at all. Sure, you get a better draft pick, right? Instead of getting the 9th draft pick if they won the game, they got the 6th draft pick. So obviously, that could be a big difference. That could really help them get maybe a franchise-altering player. But that still doesn't make up for the fact that you don't know what you're doing at the quarterback position in 2021. Carson Wentz, just earlier on Sunday, reports come out of Chris Morgan saying that he wants a trade. He's going to request a trade in the offseason. He wants out of Philadelphia. He doesn't want to be a backup. So you got to figure out what you have in Jalen Hurts, because if you're going to request and grant that trade, you got to figure out, all right, well, is Jalen Hurts good enough to be our franchise quarterback? Can we give him the franchise, and can he lead us to the playoffs? Can he have more success than Carson Wentz did? And there's not a lot of sample size out there for Jalen Hurts. He's only played 4 games. And in the 4 games, you didn't even let him finish the last game. I feel like that was a massive opportunity missed and wasted by Doug Pederson to figure out, can Jalen Hurts, despite having a bad game for 3 quarters, passing the ball wise at least, can he figure it out and lead this team down to a potential game-winning drive and win this game? Is he a good enough leader? Can he take control of the team, give them enough inspiration, and win the game? And instead, you don't do that. You put Nate Sudfeld in, basically wave the white flag, and now you head to the offseason with a lot of question marks about Carson Wentz, a lot of question marks about Jalen Hurts. Then you are in no better position, despite having a better draft pick, you are in no better position in 2021 than you were in 2020, because you have a massive question mark with more questions than answers at the most important position in all of football, the quarterback position. You don't know what you have. You don't know who is going to be the guy. And I don't think, based on how Carson Wentz has interacted with backup quarterbacks before, the way that at least the fan base seems to come along and like Jalen Hurts, I don't think it's possible in 2021 that you can have both Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts on this team. I don't. So one of them have to go. One of them's going to have to get traded. It'll be at least a little bit easier to say, all right, at least you have a full 4-game sample size to figure out what you have in Jalen Hurts. Instead, again, you don't really allow yourself to happen or allow yourself the opportunity to find out. Cost yourself extra data points. And it makes the decision harder personally. So that's my biggest reaction. I don't really care about the tanking aspect of it. I don't really care about the intentional tanking aspect of it. I'm just from an Eagles fan. I would say our goal is to find out who is going to be our quarterback in 2021, and I don't think that you got any closer to that decision coming out of last night's game. And that's the biggest issue. So again, if you have any thoughts about what the Eagles did last night, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, on Twitter as well, at Ryan Hickey Show. So I do want to get some college football in here before we get out of here at the top of the hour. Because like similar now as we're getting ready for the playoffs in football, in the NFL, college football had their playoff on New Year's Day back on Friday, and boy, we were react to both games. We'll start with Clemson, Ohio State, because that is a shocker. I picked Ohio State to at least cover the game. I thought they actually would win the game, to be honest. Promise is not, hindsight. It's Hickey's Pickies is documented. It's on there. But to dominate the way they did, I did not see coming. 49-28 over the Tigers. Total domination by Ohio State. Very impressive win by them. But I want to look at this more from a Clemson perspective. Because I put this loss, honestly, squarely on Dabo Swinney's shoulders. He put his team in almost an impossible situation with his chirping, with his trash talk, that I really did think in the end cost his team the game. Now, someone who doesn't think that his trash talk put his team in a bad situation is Dabo Swinney himself. Of course he wouldn't think that. Here's him post-game explaining that his words, right, when he ranked Ohio State 11th in his coach's poll and basically doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on that, openly discussing leading into the game that Ohio State didn't deserve to be in the playoff. Dabo Swinney said, after the game, my words, they had no real impact on the game.
No, I don't regret any of that. And, the polls have nothing to do with motivation. Both teams were highly motivated to play. And listen, they're a great team. As I said, that had nothing to do with Ohio State. I said they were good enough to beat us, good enough to win the whole dang thing.
Won, and welcome to the All-State.
I didn't think anybody that didn't play at least 9 games, in my poll, that I wasn't going to put them in the top 10.
So Dabo Swinney, of course, his words were no motivating factor. Didn't have any impact on the game at all. Didn't fire up Ohio State. Didn't really give them some extra incentive to try to win the game. Well, he's in denial. Because that is honestly not the case. I told you, one of the reasons why I was picking Ohio State to win, because I truly believed in the emotional aspect, especially in college football. The pros, okay, it's one thing. It's a little bit different. But when you're dealing with 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kids in college who, sure that their goal is to make money going to the NFL, but they are not getting paid. Maybe as corny, as cheesy as this sounds, you are still playing with a lot of pride, a lot of emotion in that game. And coming off last year, right? We already had motivation for how last year's game against Clemson in the playoff ended. Questionable officiating, that heartbreaking interception by Justin Fields as the team is going down the field to try to take the lead and win the game. They were fired up to play this game anyway. And to just give them that extra motivation, to drive, the knife a little bit deeper to open the wound. That did Clemson no good. Because guess what? Even if Clemson won this game, the only way Dabo would be validated is if Clemson blew out Ohio State. When you are chirping as much as you did, when you are constantly saying almost daily that Ohio State didn't deserve to be in the playoff, you rank them 11th on your poll, he can make the argument that, it's just because of the amount of games they played, whatever, it's not fair, this and that. He is openly disrespecting the Buckeyes. And guess what? Guess who heard those chirps? Guess who took it in a disrespectful way? Guess who took it personally? Ohio State. Because guess what happened after the game? They were quiet all week. Ryan Day only said nice things about Clemson. Players were quiet. No one was really feeding into the bulletin board material. Pre-game, right? Leading into the week. Dabo was talking, pontificating daily about how Ohio State didn't deserve to belong. What did Ohio State do? They kept it internal, and when they won, they let the world know about it. Ohio State football Twitter account, their official Twitter account, after the game, tweeted a picture with the only comment being, quote, 11. Obviously indicating what Dabo Swinney ranked them in their poll. Garrett Wilson, a young, good receiver for Ohio State, tweeted after the game, hey, coach, you still think we're ranked 11th? But here is the biggest indictment about Dabo Swinney's words and how it cost his team. Urban Meyer was at the game, right? He was covering the game for a Big Ten Network. He was doing the post-game in the stadium. He had an interesting anecdote that he shared post-game on Big Ten Network about how Dabo Swinney's words impacted the Buckeyes. Here's what Urban said after the game.
You know, a lot of times you have to motivate a team when you're playing a team that's lesser than you. But when you're playing a team that's even with you, it's all about preparation. And we all know what happened last week. The Buckeyes in one practice had 41 players because of COVID and other stuff going on. A lot of it out of morale because players had to be away from their families during Christmas. And I was talking to Coach Day and some of the other coaches, and then something happened. And disrespect, you know, that when Coach Swinney came out and ranked them 11th behind Iowa State and Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to make too much of that, but you try to get your teams to practice the best you can. I can tell you, I was told they had the 3 best practices they've had in a long time right after that.
3 best practices they've had in a long time after Dabo Swinney comes out and says they're ranked 11th. And look, I mean, Urban Meyer's a guy who you would think's in the know. Think would know a person or two on that program that have the pulse of the program and how practice is going leading up to that game. So yeah, Dabo can be in denial. He can tell you that his words meant nothing. No way, you know, he doesn't regret it. No way that had an impact on the game. But Ohio State football account told you it had an impact on the game. Players tweeted that had an impact on the game. Urban Meyer told you they had some of the best practices they've ever had after listening to what Dabo Swinney said. So sure, you could still say, oh, that doesn't really matter. You know, you're playing hard anyway. You're in the playoff. You're motivated to win. They just had a great game in Clemson, came out small, and that's just how it goes sometimes. But I'll sit here and tell you, this, again, is squarely on Dabo's shoulders. He added fuel to the fire that already was burning from Ohio State from what happened last year. And he put his own team in a position where their backs were almost against the wall. Because, again, when you're a coach, could you imagine, right? If you're a Clemson quarterback, if you're Trevor Lawrence, if you can put yourself in Trevor Lawrence's shoes or Travis Etienne's shoes or just any player on Clemson, right? You're sitting there, you're minding your own business, you're just trying to get ready for the game, and you have your own head coach saying that Ohio State doesn't belong. I'm ranking them 11th in my poll. This is going to be a quick study for the game because they only played 6 games. It's not fair that Ohio State's in the playoff. Do you know how much pressure that adds to your play? Because now you're the one that has to go back up your coach's words. You're going to have to be the one that's going against now a player on the other side who heard your coach say that week in and week out, day in and day out leading up to this game. And now you have to go answer for that because your coach, again, was running his mouth. And it's got to the point where, again, obviously it's the playoff, you win and you move on. But even if this game was close, Dabo is still going to take some heat because, again, when you talk all that much leading up to a game, and we never really see that, right? We never see that from any real head coach in any sport leading up to a big game where he is openly chirping the other team. I'll tell you, I think it had a massive impact. I do. Urban Meyer's telling you they had some of the best practices they've ever had. Right after Dabo Swinney said what he said. You can call it a coincidence. You can do what you want. That's why I'm putting this loss squarely on Dabo's shoulders because he put his players in an impossible situation. One that they couldn't really, get past. So to me, that's why it's on Dabo. That is why this loss is squarely on his shoulders. He is the one to blame. Not Trevor Lawrence, not the receivers, not the defense. This is on Dabo. And by the way, before we get out of here, Justin Fields bandwagon. I tried to tell you about Justin Fields. A lot of people jumped off the bandwagon after his game against Indiana, after his game against Northwestern. I tried to warn you. Justin Fields, he is a damn good quarterback. He has talent. He has a ton of skill. And he put one of the best performances we will ever see in a playoff on display for us. So just remember, the Justin Fields bandwagon, already full. No more passengers will be allowed on this time. We apologize. The bandwagon is already full. It's moving on. It is moving on to Alabama. Speaking of Alabama, they beat Notre Dame 31-14. My big thought and takeaway from this is that, sure, a lot of people want still want to bag on Notre Dame. all of the questioning about, to Brian Kelly, should say, after this game was Notre Dame, they lose at another, big stage, the playoff, BCS, New Year's Six Bowls. They're 0-7 now. Their last 7 times they've been on this stage. Does Notre Dame belong? It's the same song and dance every single time they lose a big game. But let's just call for what it is. Let's just be objective here. Notre Dame lost, sure. No one really expected them to win. No one even thought, honestly, they would cover the 20 points. But it's not just a Notre Dame thing. Whoever was at 4 seed, whether it was A&M, Cincinnati, whoever, Coastal Carolina, Oklahoma, you could put any team you want in that 4th spot. The result would have been the same. Maybe arguably even worse. Because to me, Notre Dame in this game, despite losing by 17, proved they belong. Again, I understand it's tough to kind of justify that when you lose a game by 17 points. But let's also look at what they did. They held this high-flying Alabama offense to just 31 points. Now, I understand it's still a lot. But you put it in this perspective, that's their lowest point total that Alabama scored in a game since their 2018 national title loss to Clemson. 25 games. Alabama scored more than 31 points in a row. Until Friday. So again, to me, watching this game, it's not a Notre Dame problem. They put up a fight that I didn't honestly expect. This problem is bigger than Notre Dame. This is a college football problem. Because right now, the gap between, let's say, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, and everybody else is pretty wide. It is a pretty big gap. I think Notre Dame legitimately is a top 5 team. There's really no argument there. The last few years, they have been right there at the top. They are legitimately top 5. If you want to be generous, or if you want to be strict, I should say, top 10 program. Legitimately. And they were, to me, the 4th best team in college football this year. But then look at that. They lost by 17. And people are impressed that they lost by 17 to Alabama. That's not a Notre Dame problem. That's a college football problem because guess what? No one was going to go into that game and win. Honestly, I'll ask you this. If you think Notre Dame didn't deserve to belong, they think, okay, this is classic Notre Dame, blowing out another big game, who was going to be that 4 seed that was beating Alabama? Who in college football outside of Ohio State, outside of Clemson, could compete on the same field as Alabama this year? Please let me know. Facebook Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Who was going to put up a better fight against Alabama in that game than Notre Dame? Because I'm not seeing any team in college football. It's a college football issue that they've allowed the gap between these 3 teams and everyone else to grow so wide that now we are praising Notre Dame for losing by 17 points. So to me, this is a step in the right direction for Notre Dame. You got to, crawl before you can run, right? Before you can win a title, you at least got to play close games. Before you can win a game, you got to play close games. They're getting there. They're getting better. But this, to me, it was all about Alabama. That's how much better they are than everybody else. When they have an off game, when they kind of play okay, they still win by 17 against a top 4 team in the country. That is the bigger issue in college football. Not Notre Dame coming up small in another big game. That even when Alabama plays their, let's say, B-plus game, they win handily over a top 4 team in the country. So I'm curious. You watch college football play. What was your big takeaways? Can Ohio State beat Alabama in the national title? Was this Clemson loss on Dabo Swinney's shoulders? Did he put them in an impossible situation? I'm saying yes. I think he really put his team in a bad situation that, guess what, Ohio State took advantage of and smoked them. Smoked them. So take your thoughts. Facebook Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. We're going to when we come back. The NFL coaching carousel is in full swing. Doug Marrone fired this morning. Adam Gase fired last night. 5 head coach openings in the NFL so far. We'll keep you updated before we get out here at 11 with any other breaking news. But the college football carousel, coaching carousel, I should say, is in full swing too. 2 moves, one was officially happened, and one is also rumored to happen. I'll tell you why I agree with both of those when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, right here with you. It is the Ryan Hickey Show, taking you for another, if we get exact, 17 minutes, right until the top of the 11 a.m. Eastern Hour. We appreciate you making a part of the first Monday of 2020, making us a part of your morning. Hopefully, we can make it a little bit brighter, a little bit more exciting, a little more entertaining. As Black Monday is upon us, and we are reacting a lot to what the Eagles have done. Benching Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter. In a world now where information by far is the most valuable resource, right? It used to be oil. And now, because of technology, because of the way we're able to use information and make informed decisions, data by far is the most important resource on this earth. So getting as much information as possible at every single answer we can try to get is why this is so valuable, why it's so important. Companies all the time, as you see, always try to get as much information about you, the consumer, as possible, to target ads, try to get you to think certain ways, whatever you want. Plenty of different documentaries about that. I'm not trying to get into that specifically. But my point is that, yes, information and data specifically is the most important right now resource on this earth. And why do I bring that up? Because the Eagles, last night, with a chance to learn some more information about their starting quarterback, with a chance to try to get as much data about their future at the quarterback position as possible, basically said, we're good. We're going to refuse to do that by sitting Jalen Hurts and instead playing Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter of a loss. Taking aside, honestly, I don't really care. They want to go for it. But to me, it's more egregious that at least you didn't take every opportunity possible to learn as much about Jalen Hurts as you possibly can. Because you got to make a decision one way or another. I stand by this. I don't believe next year you'll see both Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts on the sideline together. As we know, Carson Wentz, the report by Chris Mortensen, he wants a trade out of Philadelphia. He wants, doesn't want to be a backup. He almost wants a fresh start. His relationship with Doug Pederson is fractured, according to the report. He wants to go somewhere else, preferably Indy, to meet up with Frank Reich. Well, if that's the case, wouldn't you want to know before you trade away your franchise quarterback? Wouldn't you want to know what you have in Jalen Hurts? Wouldn't you want to know every opportunity possible to see what Jalen Hurts is as your starting quarterback in case you got to make that call? Don't you want to be as informed as possible? That's, in the age of analytics, right? This is Doug Pederson, an analytically driven head coach. He relies on the numbers. He relies on all this information to make his decisions. So don't you want to get as much information as possible about your young quarterback who's making his fourth career start and think, all right, before we get going here, before we make a decision on our franchise quarterback one way or another, don't you want to see, all right, can Jalen Hurts, do we truly think he could be the guy next year? If Carson Wentz is traded, can we trust Jalen Hurts to be our franchise quarterback in 2021? Now, I understand you can make the argument it's just one quarter. That's really not going to change your analysis too much, but when you only start 4 games, you need as much information as possible. So, yes, I think that is very important that the Eagles missed out. A very important opportunity to see, hey, Jalen Hurts hasn't really played that well in this game so far through 3 quarters. Run the ball decent, but throwing the ball, he struggled. Can he bounce back in the 4th quarter and lead us to a victory? Does he have the resolve, the moxie, to keep it going, to battle us out of this tough situation and try to lead us to a win? And you didn't get to find out that opportunity. So to me, that's the most egregious part of what the Eagles did last night. You didn't get a chance to figure out what you got fully and didn't give yourself every opportunity to find out or gather as much data as possible. And conversely, why I also believe that it's one or the other is because, as we know with Carson Wentz and his dynamic backup quarterbacks, he doesn't get along with them. Fair or not fair, if you agree with it or disagree with it, it's just the facts. Right? Obviously, as we know, Nick Foles, that dynamic, once he won the Super Bowl, did not really go well. Fans really wanted Nick Foles. Anytime Carson Wentz struggled, they wanted their savior, if you will, to come back and save the Eagles once again. So that relationship got rocky. Nick Foles goes elsewhere. Now it's almost a repeat of 2020. Now, obviously, they're not going to the playoffs. Jalen Hurts is not leading them to a Super Bowl. But Carson Wentz objectively stunk this year. Personally, I think it's for factors outside of him as well. I think the offensive line is to blame partially. The receivers are to blame. Doug Pederson and his play calling is to blame. But there's also plenty of blame for Carson Wentz and how he played this year, for sure. But if you want to try to figure out if he's going to be your quarterback next year, I don't think that with the way the dynamic has been with backup quarterbacks that you can make, or you can go in and Carson Wentz will agree to go into basically another 2018 situation where the backup quarterback is still popular, fans still want to see him play, and Carson Wentz is kind of looking over his shoulder anytime he throws an interception or loses a game because fans want to see someone else at quarterback. That's just my personal belief. So again, if you want to keep Carson Wentz and you're going to have to trade Jalen Hurts, don't you want to at least try to show teams get as much back as possible by showcasing what you have? I thought that was a big missed opportunity last night by the Eagles. Now this morning, I'll read you some quotes because right now, actually as we speak, Harry Roseman, Doug Pederson having a season-ending press conference. Harry Roseman was quoted as saying this. Mike Garofalo from NFL Network has this quote. When you have players like that, talking about Carson Wentz, they're like fingers on your hand. You can't imagine that they're not part of you, that they're not here. That's how we feel about Carson Wentz. He followed up by saying, when asked specifically about a trade possibility, Harry Roseman said, that's not anything we're talking about right now. So Harry Roseman, general manager of the Eagles, basically says, we can't imagine the offense next year without Carson Wentz. Maybe that's just, trying to drive up the price. Maybe that's, trying to at least not give away their game plan for this offseason. Who knows, right? Coaches play possum all the time. But if that's true, and they can't imagine, life without Carson Wentz, and they want to keep him next year, I personally don't see that how Jalen Hurts would be back next year. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy. I just don't think that Carson Wentz would sign up for another quarterback dynamic where he's constantly looking over his shoulder if Jalen Hurts is going to come in and replace him. This is going to be fascinating. Very interesting to see how this offseason shakes out for the Eagles. And I am so excited to see the decision because it's going to be, whatever they choose, I think it's going to be an extremely difficult decision to make. And part of the reason why that's what gets you so frustrated is that you could have had, again, an extra quarter to find out what you have in Jalen Hurts. Just find out. If he plays bad, okay, maybe that, kind of clouds your optimism and maybe, makes it a little more realistic that, hey, we'll still roll with Carson Wentz. I think he gives us a better chance to win. Or maybe, maybe Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter leads the Eagles to a victory. Maybe they win 21-20, let's say. Maybe that encourages you a little bit. Hey, maybe this guy can take over the reins. Maybe it's best we move on from Carson Wentz and just basically, say our goodbyes. Thanks for being here, and move forward. So it's going to be very interesting, and that's going to be one of the most watched situations that we will keep your eyes on, for sure. So we'll keep you updated, as we always try to do here. Then Doug Marrone, breaking news this morning. He is fired. He, along with Adam Gase, who's fired yesterday, the two coaches so far since Week 17 ended, to be released from their jobs. Keep you updated for if anything breaks before we get out of here. About 10 minutes or so. But quickly, obviously the NFL coaching carousel is in full swing right now. Black Monday, this is where a lot of coaches, GMs lose their job. The hiring process starts. But I do want to quickly go to the college football coaching carousel because two moves, one confirmed, one rumored, but I think I both do agree with. We'll start with the confirmed, right? Texas, you got the breaking news on Saturday. Texas has fired Tom Herman. Very surprising. And they've hired Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian. Totally did not see this coming. Right, there was some rumors of Urban Meyer. Some rumors they said he interviewed for the job. It sounds like, okay, maybe they will bring Urban Meyer into Texas. Right? I thought it would have been a slam dunk hire. Instead, Urban Meyer's not interested. And now, Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, puts out this very vague press release basically saying that Tom Herman's our coach. He's our guy. As we know, bowl game comes and goes, and Tom Herman is fired. Here's why I agree with this. And I'm going to use this comparison to Michigan for a second here. But here's why I agree with firing Tom Herman, moving on and getting Steve Sarkisian. There is really no excuse not to succeed at Texas. You have every single resource available to you that should make you a juggernaut program. Think about it. There's no check that Texas won't write to the football program. You are sitting in Austin, Texas on an extremely fertile recruiting ground. That is the school. In one of the most densely populated states with talent at the football position or in football. And being the state school of Texas, right? Being the school that every kid grows up that wants to play at. There is zero excuse for struggles at recruiting. And honestly, Tom Herman didn't even do that bad in recruiting. He's actually doing pretty well. But his issue was that he couldn't take the next program, or he couldn't take the program to the next level because he couldn't develop. He couldn't develop the players that he got there. He could recruit. He could convince these good players, hey, come to Texas, we'll make you a star. But he couldn't deliver on that promise. Because when you go 32-18, okay, that's a pretty good record, right? 4 seasons. He did win a Sugar Bowl. He beat Georgia, so they won in the year 6. But they also went to the Texas Bowl and the Alamo Bowl twice. Are you telling me in 4 years that the ceiling, and we should be happy if you're a Texas fan, that you're going to the Alamo Bowl twice and the Texas Bowl? No. So that's why I'm very intrigued, and I do like this hiring of Steve Sarkisian, because I think he's the guy that, again, when you're recruiting is, I don't want to say easy, but you have a lot of advantages that other schools don't have to make your job a little bit easier, right? You don't have to sell as hard. If you're at Texas, you don't have to be as good of a salesman to try to bring kids in. So the biggest, let's see, what's the word I'm trying to look for? The number one, I should say, skill that you should have as a head coach is developing talent. I think Steve Sarkisian has that. His play calling has been tremendous at Alabama. His play design has even been more impressive. Think about it. Devontae Smith, when Jalen Waddle got hurt at Alabama, right? Devontae Smith is by far and away the best receiver in college football this year. He is, now I understand that Alabama has a lot of talent, but he is their main weapon. He is their main stud. How many times do you look up at the screen and watch Devontae Smith wide open? Wide open. No defender within 10, 15 yards of him. And you think, how the hell could this team lose a guy like that? It's not like they just forgot about him. It's not that they just ignored him. It's because Steve Sarkisian schemed up these plays that had the defense crisscrossed, and it led Devontae Smith to being wide open a lot. That is something Tom Herman couldn't do. He couldn't scheme up the offense. He couldn't get the most out of his team. I think that's why I'm encouraged and I'm excited to see what Steve Sarkisian can do in developing the players at Texas and putting them in positions to succeed. So I'm very excited. I do like the hiring by Texas. And one that I think a lot of people would disagree with here, rumored, so it's not official yet, but Bruce Feldman of The Athletic reporting that Michigan is close to extending Jim Harbaugh through the 2026 season. I think this is the right move. I think this is absolutely the right move for Michigan. Now, yes, he's 0-5 against Ohio State. He's 3-3 against Michigan State. So two of his biggest rivals, he's not really having a lot of success. But let's not pretend, speaking of success, that Harbaugh hasn't had any in Michigan. He's been there 6 years. They've had a 10-win season 3 times. So half the years he's been there, they've had a 10-win season. The previous 8 years before Jim Harbaugh's got there, do you want to take a guess at how many 10-win seasons Michigan had? 1. Just 1. He's 49-22, 690 win percentage. And I'll be honest, I know we got to run here, so I'll say this quickly. There is a lot of challenges at Michigan that I think makes this job a lot harder than people think. People think Michigan, they think, all right, everyone wants to play there. There's no reason to not be, fully invested in football. They want to win. That is not the case. Their president, Mark Schlissel, not really a football guy. Not into it, doesn't really care. So he is not willing to put the resources out there that Michigan needs to succeed. Winning at Michigan is not a priority, or not the same priority as it is at Alabama, at Ohio State, at Clemson, at LSU, at whatever football-centric school you want to throw out there. It's just not. They care about academics. They care about being one of the best public universities in the country, which is fine. That's their prerogative. But the academic standards make recruiting harder. Just the lack of all-inness, if you will, from the university makes the job harder. So I think there's a lot of outlying factors that come with the Michigan job that make this a lot harder than people actually think. People think, oh, everyone should go there and have success. There's no reason why Michigan shouldn't be good. Said this basically for the last 2 years now, but obviously not counting this year. Really starting last year when Michigan just got wiped again by Ohio State. It's not a Jim Harbaugh problem. They keep getting blown up by Ohio State. Now, he can control and he can improve it. But to me, goes even higher than him. This is a Michigan problem. And that's, for me at least, having a guy there that understands the challenges of Michigan, I think, again, I think it's a smart move. Because I'll say this, it can get a lot worse, Michigan fans. I'm not telling you to settle. I'm not telling you to be happy with a 9-3 Outback Bowl season, finishing 3rd place in the Big Ten East. Strive for bigger seasons. I'm not saying that. Or I'm not saying not to. But I'll just say this. It can get a lot worse. There are way worse options there that could really take this program into some dark, dark places. That's why, personally, I like the decision to hold on to Jim Harbaugh, keep him there for a few more years, and see if he can turn it around. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Really appreciate all of you who tuned in, who chimed in, who made the first Monday in 2021, made us a part of it. Appreciate all of you commenting on Facebook. Appreciate all of you who listened and contributed to the show. Always love hearing your thoughts. Don't forget, download the app, WWSRN on iOS, Worldwide Sports Network and Android. Follow us on Twitter at WWSRN_radio. Follow us on Facebook at Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitch, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Like us on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're all over the docket on the digital platform. So make sure you are locked and loaded with the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. A lot of great things coming for 2021. You don't want to miss it. By following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, downloading the app, you will be in touch and in tune with everything that goes on with the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So appreciate you listening. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday, as we always are. Get you ready for the Wild Card Weekend, the Super Wild Card Weekend. The NFL will get you that. So stay safe these next few days. Stay safe. We'll talk to you on Thursday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.